Governor Kieper, thank you very much for finding the time to talk to us today. And for the viewers, I would remind them that we're talking with Oleg Kieper, who's the governor of the Odesa region. Governor, thank you very much for finding the time to talk to us today. We spoke in June, the last time I saw you. What has changed since the last time we met and spoke? Have you seen increased bombardments? Is anything different now?
Actually, as far as you know, for the recent 1.5 years, Odessa and Odessa region has been a permanent target for the enemy. They have been hitting us actually all the time, as all other sources report. However, in recent weeks, the situation has intensified dramatically, probably due to certain shifts in the international policy. Actually, now the enemy is using the opportunity, probably related to decreased amount of incoming weapons. So they are just using their chance to hit us as hard as possible. What we see now is a systemic attack of the enemy on the energy supply system of the region. Probably, presumably, they are trying to sow discontent among our people, to create a platform for internal turmoil and disbalance in the society. Actually, in some days after the attacks, over 100,000 of people had no electricity, they had blackouts. Of course, we are trying to maintain the status of the city, maintain the livable conditions of the city thanks to our military guys and thanks to our repair services. However, there are very different types of damages and it takes a lot of time to repair it all. However, we're trying to stay strong and maintain the sufficient level of the region.
What's the electricity situation now? How do you still have blackouts?
Right now, right in this city, several thousand people are having no electricity at all. For the recent days, in many locations, people have no light, no power, no electricity for 4 or 5 days in a row. What we managed to do was just to recover the systemic heat supply, water supply, and sewage system operations, just to maintain the sufficient level of life in the city. However, there are still many locations and areas where the blackouts are present. The most important thing I would like to say, the damages, of course, are a challenge and, of course, are a problem. However, the biggest challenge is that each shelling, each bombardment results in death of innocent people, adults and children. And that is the biggest challenge we are facing throughout these years.
In your initial response, you said that because of the international situation regarding Ukraine and arms shipments, Russia has intensified bombing. Where do you think this will go? How do you see the situation for next month or a few months from now?
Well, if you don't mind, I would rather not focus on purely military issues, because that is not the field we are discussing now. However, speaking in general, the negative results of weapon shortage are obvious, because the weapon shortage results with challenges both on the front line and in the cities of the whole territory of Ukraine, because actually now the enemy can reach any part of Ukraine, any city, any area without any obstacle. And I've just reported you about the situation with the infrastructure in Odessa. The same is applicable to the whole territory of the country. The enemy is targeting not only energy supply infrastructure, but also gas supply infrastructure, which results in systemic destruction of life-supporting infrastructure. Potentially, that can be a force that forces the whole country, that forces Ukraine to some decisions which might have negative results for it.
What's the situation regarding ports now? Are they operational? Are they being attacked on a daily basis? And how do you see that situation from the ports angle?
Well, first, in general, the ports of Odessa region, we are calling them the Odessa seaports, there are 3 ports here, are the only remaining sea gate of Ukraine as of now. While the Mykolaiv and Kherson regions ports are blocked, we remain the only part of the sea port infrastructure remaining. And I would personally thank the people that are working in our ports because they do absolutely fantastic things with over 270 elements of port infrastructure damaged during this war. They continue operations, and actually we are reaching very good results. For example, the grain turnover for Odesa seaports during this time has reached the pre-war level as of now. Of course, we are facing certain challenges with other types of cargo. However, there are some potential benefits. For example, the big French container company is returning to our market, which indicates of the better insurance situation and lower insurance risks.
How's the infrastructure itself? Is it fully operational or some of it is out because of the attacks?
Actually, the situation is different. Some elements of port infrastructure has been totally destroyed for no perspective of renewal. However, everything that has been damaged and could be repaired is repaired as of now, thanks to the effort of both port infrastructure and business structures that want to continue to operate. The situation is challenging because we are doing everything in a very dynamical way.
The last time we spoke, you were talking about how Odesa region is open for investments from everywhere, and just now you mentioned that French companies actively participating in the economic activities in Odesa. Where do you see America's role? Do you have any American businesses that are coming in, or do you have any opportunities for American investments in Odesa?
Thank you for the question because it's very timely. Just last week we had a big conference with the representatives of American business. With many of those companies are already working in Ukraine, including two big companies, one of them a big logistics company. Also, for example, our Odesa female football club, Sea Stars, is also sponsored by American business right here, right now. And what could I say? The American companies that are already working here were even more active than me. They were encouraging their colleagues, they were encouraging other American companies to enter Odesa region, to start the new initiatives, new business, new trends, new working positions, because of the possible opportunities and benefits.
Do you feel this tension that's happening between Kyiv and Washington in Odesa, and how does that manifest?
Well, I will start with a surprise. Probably the surprising news is that during recent weeks we had even more contacts with American people and American business as ever before during all these 3 years, because we all know, and the American people know, they have known for all this time that Ukraine is under attack, that Ukraine is challenged by their aggression, and they are eager to support us, and they understand the situation here. And speaking about politicians, speaking about politics, politicians are to face global challenges. They are managing some global issues, and you know, the surprising thing is sometimes the contradiction, sometimes the challenge, sometimes the opposition is platform for mutual understanding and for development of the new way, for development of the new outcome. Nothing has ended. On March 11, the presidents are having another meeting, so this can be called toughening of conditions or whatever. However, we have found a new way to operate. We will probably found a new way which is good for both of our countries. And of course, each president of each country is always standing for the interests of his own country, and only during this cooperation, only during this communication, they can find a mutual way. Actually, at wartime, toughness of relations politeness or diplomacy should stand on the second place, while on the first place we should put ending to killing of people. This is what should be our priority. Stop people from dying.
That's what President Trump is saying, that that's his goal, to end the killing. Being in Odessa every day and interacting with your constituents, what's your sense about how Odessans view America now?
Well, most Odessites, most people of Odessa are very grateful for American people, the American nation, and America as a state for their support during these years. Of course, they have disputes of how the situation in the Oval Hall, the communication between the presidents, what would be the result for the city. However, most of them are sure that President Zelensky stands for the interests of Ukraine and does everything possible to maintain its independence. And the same for Mr. President Trump. They also think that Mr. Trump supports Ukraine and does everything he can to support its independence.
From Washington, we've heard many times over and over again that Ukraine needs to hold new elections and that President Zelensky is not a democratic leader. In fact, President Trump called him a dictator at one point. What do you think, at least in your region, what do you think people are thinking about the elections? Is the country ready? Can the country hold elections?
Of course, they're speaking a lot about the elections, and some political parties are already preparing for elections. They're starting their agitation. However, I'm a lawyer by my nature and by my education, so I would say the situation is like this. On one hand, elections should be held because it is outlined in our constitutions. The terms of the presidents are coming out, expiring, the terms of the Supreme Council are expiring, the terms of municipal powers are also expiring, so elections are required. On another hand, the Constitution speaks that elections require particular conditions, namely the end of the war and the end of the military status, which prevents holding any elections. So these are two contradictory things. However, speaking about President Zelensky, I would say that the fact itself that he remained in the country after the beginning of war, after the February of year 22, when he had an opportunity to flee, but he remained here and stood strong with the country supporting it. It actually demonstrates that we are a democratic country. The situation here is unique. It's really hard to compare it to anything other because it is absolutely unique. However, I think that we are the democracy.
I really appreciate your time. I know you have to go and take care of running the region. Is there anything during this interview that you wanted to say and that I did not ask you about?
We are happy to share our opinion on various reasons regarding the local situation and the situation in other countries, and we are also thankful to the support of all our partners from different countries of the world for their military support, for their other forms of support that enabled us to survive those 3 years of war, that enabled our military forces to stand strong and to hold the enemy back, that gives us a hope for the future of our children, that our children will be Ukrainians, that they will live in an independent country. So, and first and foremost, I'm inviting you to Odessa as a guest so that you can see everything with your own eyes.
Governor Kieper, thank you very much for your time and for sharing your thoughts, and the best of luck to you.